It's a good bounce back win for us today. I thought we started the game with the right tone on the defensive end, and so that was
Everything we thought we knew about the power dynamic in professional women's basketball has just been incinerated. For months, the WNBA front office operated under the arrogant assumption that they held all the cards, that the players, hungry for visibility and grateful for a league to play in, would eventually fall in line like they always have. They were wrong. We are no longer watching a standard contract negotiation. We are witnessing a full-scale insurrection led by a generation that knows exactly what they are worth. The latest reports coming out of the league office paint a picture of absolute chaos. The WNBA, the players' union, has not only opted out of the current collective bargaining agreement 2 years early, but they have just taken the nuclear step of authorizing a potential strike. This isn't just a dispute over a few percentage points. It is a complete rejection of the old guard mentality that has ruled the WNBA for decades. And sitting right at the center of this storm, the silent but undeniable force driving this billion-dollar standoff is Caitlin Clark. To truly understand why Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and the Coach Team USA establishment are reportedly in a state of total shock, you have to peel back the layers of what has happened over the last 12 months. This is a story about leverage, betrayal, and the harsh reality of business. The narrative circulating right now is that the league was banking on a slow, steady renegotiation process. They wanted to pat the players on the head, give them a small raise, and keep the machinery running, but they miscalculated the Clark effect. They didn't realize that by bringing in a supernova talent, they were also bringing in a supernova level of scrutiny and economic power. The report that Clark and the new wave of stars are refusing the old deal isn't just about money. It's a refusal to participate in a system that exploits their fame while offering them crumbs in return. The commissioner is shocked because for the first time in the league's history, the players aren't asking for permission to survive. They are demanding the keys to the kingdom. Let's look at the financials that are keeping the owners awake at night. We aren't talking about marginal growth here. We are talking about a complete economic revolution that renders the old collective bargaining agreement obsolete. Financial experts from top universities have crunched the numbers, and the results are nothing short of mind-blowing. In 2024, Caitlin Clark alone was responsible for an estimated 26.5% of the WNBA's entire economic activity. Think about the gravity of that statistic. One rookie in a league of over 140 players drove more than a quarter of the entire business. She turned the Indiana Fever from a struggling franchise into a brand that rivals NBA teams in terms of engagement. Attendance skyrocketed by over 40% league-wide. TV viewership records that had stood for 20 years were shattered on a weekly basis. And yet, under the current deal that the league tried to protect, Clark's base salary is locked at roughly $76,000. The disparity is so grotesque, so undeniably exploitative that it has radicalized the entire player base. It's not just about Clark, it's about what she represents. When Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, and the rest of this historic rookie class look at the numbers, they see a league that is printing money off their names while telling them the cupboard is bare. The players see the private jets the owners are finally scrambling to provide only after being shamed into it and the massive $2 billion media rights deal. And they are asking a simple, dangerous question. Where is our share? The refusal to accept the current CBA is a direct response to this question. The players know that the owners are preparing to feast on this new revenue for the next decade, and the union has decided to flip the table before the meal can even begin. However, the panic within the league office is compounded by a specific looming threat that emerged late last year and has now become the ultimate bargaining chip, the unrivaled league. Founded by superstars Breanna Stewart and Fisa Collier, this 3-on-3 league didn't just offer an alternative, it exposed the WNBA's poverty wages for the world to see. Reports surfaced that Unrivaled prepared an offer for Caitlin Clark exceeding $1 million for just a few months of work, plus significant equity in the league itself. While Clark has played her cards close to her vest, reportedly leaning towards rest in the short term, the mere existence of that offer destroyed the WNBA's leverage. How can Commissioner Engelbert look a player in the eye and say a $200,000 super max salary is fair when a startup league is offering 5 times that amount for a fraction of the games? This was the wake-up call. The unrivaled threat proved that the money is there. It's just being hoarded at the top, and the players are no longer willing to accept the be grateful narrative. This financial revolt is fueled by a deep-seated resentment toward the league's leadership, specifically regarding how they handled the new era. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert finds herself under siege, not just from the agents and lawyers, but from the players themselves. The tension reached a boiling point when reports leaked of a private conversation where Engelbert allegedly implied players should be thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal she negotiated. That sentiment, which she later tried to walk back, was the match in the powder keg. It displayed a disconnect so profound that it unified the locker rooms against her. Players like Nafisa Collier and Kelsey Plum haven't held back, publicly criticizing the leadership and essentially calling for a complete overhaul. The sentiment is clear. The league is succeeding in spite of the leadership, not because of it. They believe the massive influx of revenue is due to the talent on the floor, specifically the generational talent wearing number 22. And the front office is simply trying to take credit for a wave they didn't see coming. But to fully grasp the emotional weight of the standoff, we have to go back to the moment that started the us versus them mentality, the Olympic snub. The decision by the Team USA selection. Commissioner knows this. The owners know this. For the first time in history, the labor force has the ability to bankrupt the ownership. If the players walk, the revenue stops. And unlike the NBA, where teams have decades of reserves and billion-dollar valuations independent of current stars, the WNBA's newfound profitability is fragile. It relies entirely on the current hype, and the players control the product. There is also a fascinating generational divide at play here that makes the negotiations even more complex. The veteran players who spent years flying coach, staying in budget hotels, and playing in rec centers for meager pay are in a difficult position. They built the foundation, but the house is being renovated by the rookies. For a long time, there was tension, jealousy even, over the attention Clark received. But in this labor battle, they have found common ground. The veterans realize that the Clark salary cap holds them all down. If the rising tide doesn't lift all boats, then nobody sails. This unity is what makes the strike threat so dangerous for the league. The owners expected to be able to divide the locker room to pit the jealous veterans against the wealthy rookies. But the low ball offers from the league office have had the opposite effect. They have united the players in their disgust for the current offer. The clock is ticking toward the expiration of the current terms, and the silence from the Clark camp is perhaps the loudest noise of all. By not publicly committing to the WNBA's narrative, by keeping the unrivaled option in her back pocket, and by letting the union fight this war with her economic data as the ammunition, Caitlin Clark is exerting more power than any commissioner ever could. She has effectively checkmated the league. They cannot market the future without her, and they cannot afford her under the old rules. The shock that the commissioner is feeling is the realization that the era of control is over. The athletes are now the CEOs of their own brands, and the league is just a platform, one that is currently in danger of being left behind if it doesn't modernize rapidly. Consider the specifics of what the players are actually rejecting. The current CBA has a prioritization clause that punishes players for playing overseas, forcing them to choose between making real money in Europe or playing in the WNBA. For years, players hated this rule, but had no power to fight it. Now, with the unrivaled league offering a domestic alternative that pays huge money, that prioritization clause looks ridiculous. The players are refusing to be locked into a league that pays them part-time wages while demanding full-time exclusivity. They are demanding the freedom to maximize their earnings, whether that's in the WNBA, in Europe, or in new ventures like Unrivaled. The commissioner's shock comes from the fact that the WNBA is no longer the only game in town. The monopoly is over. This situation also forces us to look at the reality of the business world surrounding women's sports. For years, the WNBA operated as a subsidized entity supported largely by the NBA's financial backing. That dynamic created a culture where players were expected to be thankful for whatever they got. But 2024 changed the math forever. When you have regular season games drawing millions of viewers, outperforming Major League Baseball and NHL games on a consistent basis, the charity argument dies. The players know the numbers. They know that the Indiana Fever's merchandise sales alone probably covered the cost of multiple rosters. Yet, the players on those rosters are still having to play overseas in the off-season just to make ends meet. That is the fundamental contradiction that has led to this refusal. You cannot have a major league product with minor league wages. The targeting of Caitlin Clark this season serves as the perfect metaphor for the contract dispute. On the court, veterans tried to welcome her to the league with physical play, trying to prove that she wasn't special. But she took the hits, got up, and broke every record in the book. Now in the boardroom, the league owners are trying to give her the rookie treatment with the contract, trying to prove that the system is bigger than the player. But just like on the court, that strategy is failing. Clark and the union are absorbing the pressure and firing back with record-breaking leverage. The refusal to sign, the threat to strike, and the exploration of other leagues is the off-court equivalent of a logo three-pointer. It's a move that says, I can do things you didn't think were possible. We also have to consider the role of the fans in this negotiation. The Caitlin Clark stands and the millions of new eyes on the sport are not loyal to the WNBA shield. They are loyal to the players. If Clark were to take a year off or go play exclusively in Unrivaled, those fans would follow her. The WNBA knows this. The TV networks know this. Disney and Amazon didn't pay billions for the WNBA logo. They paid for the Caitlin Clark show. This puts the commissioner in an impossible bind. If she gives in to the union's demands, she sets a precedent that bankrupts the old model. If she holds the line and causes a strike, she destroys the value of the media deal she just signed. It is a lose-lose situation for the front office and a win-win for the players as long as they stay united. The timeline of this refusal is critical. The WNBPA opted out in late 2024, setting up a showdown for the 2025-2026 cycle. This means the upcoming season is going to be played under a cloud of uncertainty. Every interview, every press conference will be dominated by questions about the money. And every time Caitlin Clark steps on the court, the ticker tape in the owners' heads will be counting the revenue she generates versus the pennies they are paying her. The commissioner's shock is likely turning into dread as she realizes that the PR battle is already lost. The public is overwhelmingly on the side of the players. The narrative of greedy owners versus exploited stars is an easy one to sell, especially when the salary cap for an entire team is less than the salary of a single NBA bench player. Let's not forget the coach team USA angle. Cheryl Reeve, who doubles as the Minnesota Lynx coach and the head of the Olympic team, represents the system that is being challenged. When she made the decision to leave Clark off the roster, she cited experience and chemistry, but many saw it as a protectionist move, a way to reward the veterans who had been part of the system for years. Now, that same system is crumbling. The fact that the commissioner and the coaches are shocked by the players' refusal to deal shows how out of touch they were. They thought they could control the pace of change. They thought they could slowly integrate Clark into the existing structure. But Clark is a disruptor. She doesn't integrate. She takes over. And the contract negotiations are following the exact same path as her playing career. Fast, aggressive, and record-breaking. The refusal mentioned in the headlines isn't just about refusing a contract. It's about refusing a lifestyle. It's about refusing to play in a system that markets you as a superstar, but pays you like a substitute teacher. It's about refusing the disrespect of having to fly commercial after playing a double overtime game, squeezing 6 feet 4 inches frames into economy seats. It's about refusing to let the league keep 90% of the profit while the players take 100% of the physical risk. The CBA negotiations are simply the battlefield where this war is.